Shalom. It's your brother Malcolm, giving all praise, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakar Kadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS, who are the true leaders of all Israel on earth today. Salutations to my fellow laborers, the Akim, that are doing this work in truth and sincerity, that risk their lives and their freedom to do so. And salutations to the Akwaf that are listening and learning. To you, I say Shalom. This is a video that was put up by Press TV, and it's titled, Moscow will respond to U.S. strikes on Syria. All right, because World War III has begun. And it's getting to the point where the proxy wars are over, and there's beginning to be direct confrontation between the biggest players. And the biggest players being America, Russia, China, and the Israelis. And they have been dangerously, getting into small skirmishes that are going to turn into major events. So let's let this guy speak.
This is Press TV's Top 5. Thanks for joining us. The Russian military says it will respond to any U.S. missile strikes on Syria that will put the lives of Russian troops at risk. Chief of the Russian General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, said if Washington puts the lives of Russian service members in Syria in danger, Russian armed forces will retaliate. Gerasimov said Russia will target missiles and launchers involved in such an attack. The top general said after a false flag chemical attack against civilians in Syria, the U.S. tried to accuse Damascus of using chemical weapons. General Gerasimov said the discovery of a lab in the village of Avtris in eastern Ghouta proved that U.S.-backed militants were behind the chemical attack.
So there you go. Once again, America blaming someone falsely for something that they did. Just like they were talking about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, which they never found. But yet millions upon millions of people lost their, millions of people since then have lost their lives in all the wars that have incurred since that fabricated lie. Okay, that's nothing new. I mean, they've been doing it all along. They will attack and kill their own just so they can blame it on it and create an enemy so that they can go take over resources and things of that nature. And this is the MO of the so-called white man. They've been doing this going all the way back to the time of the Greeks, man. All right, which is the history of the Greeks. The Greek kingdom is left out of the Bible, which is found in the Apocrypha. All right, you can go back to the whole thing between Mordecai, the Israelites, and Haman, the Edomite. Okay, Haman was basically bearing false witness and fabricating lies on the Israelites as if they were terrorists in that kingdom or something. So nothing has changed. Let's fast forward to the Boston Tea Party, where a bunch of Edomites dressed up like Gadites and then went out and created havoc. And how many Gadites do you think are so-called natives actually died as shortly thereafter, after that thing? All right, because for hundreds of years until they put it in the history books, the new inhabitants of the land, the colonizing thieves, murderers, thought that these Gadites had done these crimes, man. And so how many scalps you think were collected? So let's let it play. On a rattle on.
Joining us live now from Norway is John Stepling, who is an author and commentator. John, what do you make of this warning by Russia? Quite a direct one, isn't it?
Well, sure, it is. But understand that this follows extraordinarily aggressive and bellicose statements from Theresa May in London and from various people in the Trump administration and from...
So these NATO, these U.S. and Trump people, man, are what's causing this thing to happen, man, to make Putin get into that spirit, man. Let's read Ezekiel 38. This is Ezekiel 38:1, and it says, the word came of Yahweh, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog and the land of Magog, and the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. And say, thus saith Yahweh power. Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine armies and horses and horsemen, and all them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, and all of them handling swords. And the Russians have a great and mighty army, and they have great and mighty allies that are aligning themselves with them, that are actually greater than America and its allies. Truth be said, the Russian has missile systems that can penetrate and all Americans' defense systems, man. They got the Satan 1, the Satan 2, all right, which even the Pentagon admitted that is unstoppable. And now they got some super, some hypersonic missile or arrow, as the Bible refers to them. Okay? So arrows are going to fly, man, from one end of the earth to the other, just as the scripture said. And it's soon. And so this is no longer saber rattling. And for those of you who don't understand what saber rattling is, say if you watch one of them old movies when you see two opposing armies and the armies start chanting, smashing their spears to the ground or clashing their weapons onto their shields, that's saber rattling. You know, it's to get the men charged, to get them ready for battle. And that's what's happening in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, as the scripture have said.
The Pentagon in Washington, the pro-war rhetoric coming out of the United States is just shocking. I mean, I'm at a bit of a loss for words, actually. I can't remember hearing this kind of warmongering rhetoric from U.S. major, national level U.S. politicians probably ever.
And one of the reasons why that's happening is because America is collapsing. Financially, Salakia, the dollar is about to crash. All right. And they having all kind of infrastructure problems, homelessness across the board, housing bubble, car bubble, used car bubble, credit card bubble, student loan bubble. The Edomite population here in America aren't having babies. You got an opioid problem here in America with the Edomites are dying off daily. I read one report that it was up to 100 Edomites died just from meth alone, man. So America is totally imploding upon itself, man. And you also have former political leaders such as Barack Obama, Clinton, Bush, and Cheney, who are actually, and what's his name? What's the little coward that proclaims himself as a hero, but the men who were in captivity with him in Vietnam say differently. John McCain. The guys who were actually in the prison camps with him said he was a sellout. All right? He was giving up info and giving up soldiers for chocolate and cigarettes. Okay? This is, I'm going to read Obadiah. The 7th verse, and it says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border, and the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, and they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. All right, so all these NATO nations, man, just like Turkey is playing both sides back and forth. A lot of these NATO nations are looking sideways at America and don't trust them, man. Because America was spying on them and doing all kind of things. And now with all these tariffs and sanctions, they're hurting the very NATO countries that they're supposed to be partnering with. Russia's probably feeling slightly
on edge and wants to make clear certain things. The statement in and of itself is not all that significant. The U.S. still controls like a third of Syria. They continue to talk about creating a kind of buffer state in eastern Syria.
And it's clear to the rest of the world that America is there for its personal interests and not the interest of protecting the people or bringing democracy. Which, by the way, whenever democracy comes, mass death comes, right? The destruction of societies, homosexuality, lesbianism, and the destruction of families and homes. All right? All of a sudden, the women are are in rebellion against their husband and the men, and feminism raises up. That's what happens every place that democracy goes, man. The destruction of families and people's heritages and cultures. Okay, and that's just the truth. Let me read Jeremiah. This is not going to be a long lesson, just a quick, And this is the third time I tried to do it today. Because first time I put it up, I actually said something wrong. So to prevent any, I had a slip of the tongue, and so instead of leaving it up so scoffers could have a field day with it, I just decided to redo it through the Spirit. But this is Jeremiah 49 and verses 12 through 18. And it reads, "For thus saith Yahweh, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have surely drunken. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go punished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. And I have sworn by myself, saith Yahweh, that Bozrah shall become a desolation and a reproach and a waste and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste." So any place where the so-called white man is going to become a perpetual waste, because Bozrah is synonymous with Edom. Okay? Verse 14. "I have heard a rumor from Yahweh, an ambassador is sent among the heathen, saying, Gather ye together and come against her and rise up to the battle. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men." And that's exactly what's happened. And it's those Israelis, because they're the main ones pushing. They control America. They control and they're actually behind all of NATO, man. It's really those Israelis. Okay? Because if you don't think that the Jewish presence, the Zionist presence isn't felt in the government from the Federal Reserve, which is not even of America. It's not federal at all. It's a private entity. Basically a fourth branch of government that rules over the three branches of government. It dictates their policy. Okay? And the policy of what's best for the Israelis is what America does. Period. Knowing that the people in Israel are not the people of the Lord and not the Israelites. They're just Edomites. Okay? All right, I read 15 again. "For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men. Thy terribleness have deceived thee, and the pride of thy heart hath, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, and holdest the height of the hill, though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith Yahweh." Also Edom, so you know this is talking about Edom, because they're the only ones that ever lived in the caves. Okay? And they who do hold the height of the hill. They rule all the governing, they rule the governments, including the Russian government. All right, and then every Edomite nation, from Russia to the Americans and everything in between, going all the way back to the Greeks, the Romans, the French, the German, the Spaniards, all of them, and America, bear the symbol, the animal symbol of the eagle, is a symbol of the so-called white man, who is Esau Edom. All right? Also, Edom shall be desolate. Everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof. And those plagues are those arrows who are getting ready to fly on this place. So with that, I hope this was an edifying lesson. All praise, glory, and honor be unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, and Abba Babal.